There's a lot of discourse around the proposed hybrid mana rule changes for the Commander format. However, I will not be getting into the arguments for or against the changes in this video. I just want to mention it briefly for those who are unfamiliar with the proposed change. Currently, a card with a hybrid mana symbol, for example green and white, must be played in a deck where the Commander has a color identity that contains green and white. If the rule change were to go through, you'd be able to play the card in any deck with green or any deck with white. Just to note, this will not include cards that also have other colored pips in their text. Let's take a look at some underplayed hybrid cards for our Commander decks. Mercy Killing. 3 mana, 2 and a hybrid green and white. Instant. Target creature's controller sacrifices it, then creates X 1/1 green and white elf warrior creature tokens, where X is that creature's power. I love this card. Not only can we sacrifice a specific creature, but we also get tokens equal to its power, so it's a small army on top of the fact that it's a removal spell. So if you have a token deck that cares about having bodies on the battlefield, this is the kind of removal spell that synergizes well with your deck because you're able to continue your game plan of creating tokens while also having spot removal to take care of threats. Cauldron Haze. 2 mana, 1 and a hybrid white-black instant. Choose any number of target creatures. Each of those creatures gains persist until end of turn. When it dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. This is a great defensive spell for only 2 mana. You could use it in response to somebody's board wipe to bring back all your creatures to the battlefield. Or if you're playing a sacrifice deck and you want to sacrifice your own creatures, this is a great way to reuse those creatures. And of course, we're not limited to just our own creatures, so if for some reason you wanted to bring back your opponent's creatures, maybe you have some kind of synergy with your opponent's creatures dying, you can bring back their weaker creatures like with 1 toughness and they'll automatically die thanks to the -1/-1 counter, and then you can get those triggers again. Fulminator Mage. 3 mana, 1 and 2 hybrid black-red creature elemental shaman 2/2. Sacrifice this creature, destroy target non-basic land. Look, I know some people don't like destroying lands, but non-basic land removal is important. Lands will only continue to become more powerful. There's already a lot of great lands out there that are worth destroying, and having something like this on the battlefield means your opponents have to deal with this before they could use those lands, or you have some kind of like threatening kind of situation where it's like, hey, if you do something to me, I'm going to remove your best land. This card sacrifices itself without needing to tap or pay any additional costs, so it can work well in a sacrifice deck, a reanimator deck, or even a clone deck because red has clone effects. But I would warn you that you should be careful using this effect too many times. While it's great to have access to it and be able to reuse it when you need it, you also want to be careful that you're not just like turning your deck into a mass land destruction deck because you keep cloning or reanimating this thing. But you do need ways to interact with powerful lands, and it's not fair for your opponents to say that land destruction isn't fair and then use a lot of powerful lands to beat you because you're not allowed to interact with them. Portal Manipulator. 4 mana, 2 and 2 hybrid white-blue. Creature Human Wizard 3/2. Flash. When this creature enters during the declare attacker step, choose target player and any number of target attacking creatures their opponents control. Those creatures are now attacking that player. An important note about the rulings for this card, its triggered ability ignores all requirements, restrictions, and costs associated with attacking. I like this card a lot because you're able to take all the attacks that were coming at you and send them to one of your other opponents, and then it becomes their problem and they could figure out how to deal with it. And you still get to have a 3/2 creature on the battlefield. This is one of those cards that may not seem very good, but when you see it cast in a game, it's going to lead to some crazy scenarios. Just make sure you use it before the game comes down to a 1v1. The final card we're looking at is Stampede Surfer. 5 mana, 3 and 2 hybrid red-green creature human warrior 4/4. Haste. Whenever this creature attacks, for each opponent, you create a 2/2 green boar creature token that's tapped and attacking that opponent. This thing is putting 10 power onto the battlefield the turn it comes into play. Because it has haste, we'll be able to attack, and that's going to give us a 2/2 boar for each opponent. And of course, as long as it survives combat, we're going to be able to get that effect every time it attacks each turn. This is one of those cards I would love to play, but I just don't have a place for it. But if they go through with the hybrid mana rule changes, this will be a fun aggressive addition to my Adrix and Nev deck because it's going to double the tokens. So when this thing attacks, I'm going to end up with 6 2/2 boar tokens, and it synergizes well with the token copy cards because imagine I have Adrix and Nev on the field, I make a token copy, actually 2 token copies of Stampede Surfer, and then when it attacks, all of the tokens it creates are also doubled, which means I'm going to end up with way more tapped and attacking 2/2s than anyone wants to deal with. These were 5 of my favorite hybrid mana cards that are underplayed. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite hybrid mana cards are, and what do you think of the proposed changes to the hybrid mana rules. Until next time, thanks for watching.